Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Mickus, Chief Content Officer here at Medbridge, and I'm thrilled to be joined here with Mike Studer, accomplished physical therapist and thought leader in our field. So Mike just wrote a new book, The Brain That Chooses Itself, and I thought it'd be great to have him featured on our social and be able to share a little bit of background. So maybe just to kick things off, Mike, can you provide some background on the book and what it's all about?
Well, hey, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm very glad to be here. I think I've been mentally writing the book for about 2 years, and I was doing some lectures, keynote lectures that were based on wellness and things that we can do to actualize greater health span and lifespan. And that's the underpinning of what the book's about. And it came to me at a few moments in June of this year, believe it or not, that I had enough time to take the skeleton of this course that I had been teaching and just get it down on paper and do a deeper dive and research everything about it. Because a lot of the learning and credentials throughout my life have been just opportunities to force myself to immerse in the literature. So just very briefly, 5 major levers that we can pull to improve health span and lifespan. And those are the organization of the book: physical activity, social connectivity, nutrition, sleep, and what I like to say is outside of our comfort zones, really extreme experiences. And we can talk more about that later, but that's a brief summary of the book.
That's great. I mean, these concepts come out through your courses on Medbridge and just continuing to gain traction in the industry. So such an important topic.
Yeah.
The book emphasizes that true change in wellness and health relies on consistency, intensity, measurement, and challenge, but especially the power of choice. How can clinicians incorporate the element of choice into their programs to help their patients achieve meaningful, lasting results with their rehab?
Yeah, that's a great question. If we go straight to the clinical interaction and the clinical experience between a therapist and a patient, there are many different ways that we can help the patient be a collaborative element in this healthcare team who feels that they have agency, I've got a role, and they have autonomy, I have choices. And therein lies that connection between what I've written about in the book and the clinical experience. Here's some specific examples. One of my favorites is, hey, welcome back. I'm so glad to see you here today on Wednesday. I've planned out a great session for you, but I want to find out if we're going to work on strength, balance, and endurance today, which one of those do you want to work on first? And so we have that opt-in. It's just like someone ordering from a menu rather than having something served to them, whatever was going to be served tonight. When you have agency and autonomy and you opt in, that's going to increase your engagement. Another great example is I've got 5 exercises on this exercise program that I've established specifically for you. I want you to strike 2 of them off. You put 2 of these aside, and that gives the person the opportunity to opt in. They've helped to build their home exercise program. Like, I don't like this one as well, and I don't like this one as well. We're doing these 3. And I guess a third one for me, Andrew, just because I've got thousands of these, and I'll just stay very brief, is, wow, we just had a great session, and I'm looking forward already to our session next Monday. Can you tell me one thing that we did in today's session that you want to be certain to work on again on Monday's session? And when people are already starting to put some menu items on their plate or from the buffet on that Monday session, that means they'll look forward to the session with intensity and some, appetized sense of, I know what's coming and it's one of my favorite things. And they won't cancel that appointment. They'll show up on time because they've got autonomy and agency. And that's what's in the book too. We're going to make more impactful changes in lifespan and health span, not by coercing and guilting and prescribing, but by actually saying to people, here are the options. What fits in your life? What resonates with you? It's your choice.
So powerful. I mean, just the kind of the impact that autonomy has in terms of how someone follows through, and like some small kind of verbiage that you can use and decisions that you can do within your within your care can make such a big impact in terms of the clinical care, the patient buy-in, and ultimately the business outcomes as well. So great suggestions. I really
Exactly.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Within the course, you also talk about the importance of novel and challenging experiences for optimized wellness. I know we talked about this in some of our the fall prevention courses you do with dual tasking in terms of you got to challenge the patient. How does this concept from wellness apply to therapeutic exercise and practice?
Yeah. Gosh, isn't this just the singular through line for everything that we know in health span and lifespan and rehabilitation, in the success in the corporate world, in relationships, that we need to take some risks that are measured and calculated. We need intensity. We know that when we talk about therapeutic exercise and neurologic rehabilitation. And if we're not using something, we're losing something, right? So when we talk about novelty and challenge, I mean, it's right there in the Kleiman Jones 2008 article that's known as the Principles of Neuroplasticity, if you want to put it there. The American College of Sports Medicine talks about intensity. The World Health Organization talks about, hey, it only takes 75 minutes of high intensity exercise, but you can also get it done in 300 minutes of low intensity exercise. It's efficient, it's impactful, it makes a difference. And when we talk about doing things that are slightly outside of my comfort zone, a little bit novel to me, slightly uncomfortable, we know that we're pushing the brain to make new connections. How do I do this better? This is something that I haven't experienced before. And the redundancy of connections, Andrew, to take 83 to 86 billion neurons in the brain and say, every one of these neurons could make anywhere from 5,000 to 100,000 connections. The only way we create more redundancy and stave off Alzheimer's disease and reduce mild cognitive impairment and improve ourselves against Parkinson's disease, and let's just put it bluntly, against aging itself, is if we build redundancy in everything we do. You talk about therapeutic exercise, get stronger and invest in yourself at 65, because that strength is the baseline from which you weaken at age 80 if you're going to, right? So why not invest? And we're talking about investing in your neuroplastic self, your body self, your gut health, and all of these matters within the brain that chooses itself. So the book tries to take that wide swath that is truly represented in our day-to-day clinical experiences as well.
Thanks for sharing that. I mean, again, so many good nuggets there and takeaways, both for kind of practice, but also just for yourself, in terms of living a healthier life. One other thing that kind of struck me as really interesting in the book is the concept of the blue zones. And you talked about blue zones, and then you also talked about how some of our initial impressions of what is good about a blue zone might not be the end all be all. Can you go a little bit more in depth on that?
Yeah, so Dan Buettner, who was working for National Geographic, and he kind of intentionally but accidentally came across these various regions throughout the world that had particularly longer lifespans. And Buettner and colleagues attempted to try to take these blue zones with longer lifespans and say, what's common about these? And initially, the blue zones were thought to be all about, well, what are these people eating? And we all have to take in the Mediterranean diet because Sardinia and Greece and these individuals are living longer. And then it was found that, Okinawa in Japan and certainly Nicoya in Costa Rica, and then obviously even places in California. And so the similarities started to break down a little bit from diet. And so what was learned was that, really social connectivity was an underpinning. Having individuals that are living in nuclear and extended families for longer periods of time. Well, what's actually the underpinning there that made the difference? It's not just that they were living together. It comes back to my course there, certainly for Medbridge geriathletes, which has been borne out in the other two questions that we've talked about too. And that is having something that you're still striving for later in life, whether it is trying to make national, senior games, or having a purpose to teach people recipes that are being passed down, or being the person that's overseeing the grandchildren while the more persons of adult and middle age are out working. It is actually having a clear purpose that extends into life, and a true role of not just fodder, good to see you, you're a statue that sits in a recliner chair, and pay homage to this person, but it is actually having a role and purpose. And that can be something that's adopted within the family, or something that you yourself, as a person that's aging, can decide. I want to volunteer. I want to give back. I want to continue to be relevant and meaningful. That is what promotes longevity. It's actually, the diets make a difference. Living together makes a difference. It's the connectivity and the purpose that makes all of the difference.
So interesting. The psychology and kind of the motivation being a key driver and finding purpose in life. Thanks so much for sharing that. And thanks for taking the time to join the Medbridge audience. We really appreciate it. Appreciate all the partnerships on the courses, and also on our care products. So for everyone here that's listening, make sure to go check out the book, The Brain That Chooses Itself. And again, thanks, Mike.
Thanks for the opportunity. Greetings, everyone.